All right, welcome to today's class on Docusign 101 with KW Command. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and in today's class, I'll be taking you through, steps A through Z on how to start and manage a transaction in Command with Docusign. So today is the basics class, so it's designed for agents maybe newer to Docusign, or maybe you've only been in a few times. I'm going to walk you through exactly how the transaction management system will work in Command. So the first thing that we want to do is log in to Command. So we'll go ahead and log in at agent.kw.com if you are not already. So again, that's agent.kw.com is where you want to go to log into Command. I try to remember that like it's the agent login for kw.com, right? So that's agent.kw.com to go ahead and log in. And if you do not already have that bookmarked, the site bookmarked, this is a site you'll be going to pretty much daily as a KW agent. So that would be a great thing to add to your bookmarks bar. And you can go ahead and log in. Now I know you have about 5 million username and password for everything, so just to help jog your memory, this will be the same login as you use for mykw.kw.com, and also the same login you use for the Kelly app. Okay, so your username is usually something like your first initial, last name, and then maybe a number, if your last name's a little more common. And then your password, that will be case sensitive, just a heads up. So that does require an uppercase letter, lowercase letter, and a number for that matter. Just in case that helps jog your memory, if not, you can click forgot password right there, or shoot us an email, support@scottleroymarketing.com if you have any trouble, and we can help you reset your password so you can participate in class. All right, and that will take me on into my command dashboard here. If you're still working on logging in, no worries. Feel free to take your time. We need to do just a tad bit of housekeeping first before we get started on a practice Docusign room. So first thing, if you could join me to click your name on the very top right of Command. And then go ahead and click Settings from that dropdown. All right, so again, where we're going first is we're clicking our name on the top right of Command, and then Settings from that dropdown. Okay, and what you need to make sure that you have linked up here is Docusign. So that's what we're focusing on. So if you would like to scroll to find Docusign, right, it may be at the top of your list if that's already connected, as your connected apps will always be at the top. Now, just to explain this section a little bit before we talk about making sure Docusign is linked, this section right here, and again, I got here by clicking my name on the top right of Command and just clicking Settings, and I'll come right here. It will take you on over to all of the apps that you currently have connected to Command. And if you scroll down, you'll start to see apps that you could connect up further. So I like to think of this section as a smartphone, like an iPhone or an Android, right? When you get your iPhone right out of the box, or your Android, right, it has a lot of really great features built in. However, you can go to the Google Play Store or the App Store to download even more apps to increase the functionality of your iPhone or your Android. Same concept here with Command. Out the box, Command has a lot of really great features. However, you can come into this app section right here to link up further apps to increase the functionality of Command. We won't be going in there today, but there is even a marketplace icon on the very top right of the settings section. It looks like a little storefront, and that will be like your app store. It will have even further apps in there. Okay, so for today's class though, we want to go ahead and find Docusign. Ideally, that should be on the top of your list if that is showing as connected. If it is, if it looks like mine, you are good to go. If you are not seeing Docusign here and have to scroll down further, feel free to, and you should see the option to connect account on the right-hand side to link that up right away. And if you have any trouble with that, we're more than happy to do it for you. Now, before I go any further in today's class, I do want to share the notes, as that will be helpful for you. for the rest of class and also this part. So I'm about to send the notes in the chat here. So hold on one sec. If you're watching this class recorded, I will put this notes guide in the description of the YouTube video. All right, so I'm going to pull this over just so I can show you guys what I just shared with you. You can always, open that up and, save it to the side and use it after class. All right, but that link right there, I'm going to pull that over. I have two screens. So I'm going to pull that over just to show you what I shared with you. I tried to make just one little cheat sheet for you guys with extra tips. So on the bottom, these are all of our extra tip videos, like 10-minute tip videos. And at the top, that's where we need to focus on for right now is our steps to do a transaction in Command and notes. Okay, so those are the top two will be for today's class, notes and steps. The rest here is just extra little 10-minute tip videos to help increase your understanding of Docusign. Above and beyond what we go through in today's class. So in clicking on the first one, so I'm going to pull up the first link here, and that's just the steps to do a transaction in Command with Docusign, right? I know you guys are used to doing it one way, maybe with .loop in the past, right? It's just like learning a bike, however frustrating it is to learn that over again. It's just a new set of steps that I have centralized here for you guys, and I'm going to, of course, take you through this in today's class. But I'll be referencing these steps in today's class to help walk you through it. The reason I shared this at this exact moment is the how-to video on how to link your Docusign account to Command will be at the top of these notes here. So if you do need to link your Docusign account up, first of all, you can email us, support@scottleroymarketing.com. We're more than happy to do that. Or you can go ahead and watch this quick video. It's just 3 minutes, and that will help link that up for you. All right, so I'm pulling this off to the side, but I'll be referencing those notes and tips as we go throughout class to help you guys try to integrate that into your practice. All right, guys, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and create a practice opportunity, a practice room to take you through an entire transaction, okay? Now you will need Docusign linked up to do the full transaction. Or if you have .loop linked up as well, that's fine. But of course, we'll be going over Docusign items today. So the first step in starting a transaction in Command, right, and I'm referencing those notes I shared you guys, right? The first step, all right, great. We already did that one. We logged into agent.kw.com. Now the second step is we are adding your client to your Command database. Okay, I want to highlight that because it's a newer feature. If you were using .loop in the past to manage your transactions, right, you didn't necessarily have to do this. So I want to highlight that we'll start our transactions each time from the Command contact section. Right? Our contact does have to be in our database first. So to do that, I'll click on the contacts icon on the left-hand side Command menu. Now this very far left Command menu, little tip here, if you click on the KW logo on the top left, it will pan out and tell you what each section does. I find this really helpful to start to learn the navigation around Command. Okay, so you can go ahead and click on the KW logo on the top left, and we are selecting the second icon down for our contacts. All right, so we're in the contact section of your Command database, and we need to go ahead and add in a contact so we can create an opportunity for today's class. So let's go ahead and click on Add Contact on the top right to add in a practice contact. Now it's really important to have a practice contact or a test contact in your account so that you can practice sending yourself items like marketing items or things from Docusign. I would always recommend practice sending it to yourself first before applying it to a real live client. I know that's what I always do. So if you want to go ahead and name this test client or practice contact, whatever you would like to do, your favorite TV star, willing to spice things up, I'll have Captain America buy a house today. So it really doesn't matter what name you put in, but for an email address, let's go ahead and put in an email address that you have, like an email address that's outside the system, maybe a personal email you don't use for your business. Again, I really like to go ahead and set up myself as a personal contact so I can test things to my own email before a client's email. So it's really all we need at this point is the contact's name and email address. And you can click create. But because I usually get questions on spouse at this time, let's talk about adding the spouse into command as well. All right, your spouse, the spouse in the transaction would need to be added as a totally separate contact. So you'll see right here, underneath this contact's name, it does give you the option to add relationship, which really comes in handy if the contact is already in your database, okay? So if I go ahead and add in the spouse here, I can now add it, but it'll just add their name to my database, and I would need to then go add the contact information, like their email and phone number, to the actual contact record. However, this would link it up. So for example, let me just, I think I have Monica Geller, all right, in my account. So if you already have the spouse entered into your database, right, then you can easily click the spouse option to search your database to link the spouses together and click create, okay? Now, if you already don't have the spouse in your database, no worries. I would just really recommend creating the first client, click create, and then clicking add contact on the top right to create that spouse and link them up right here. Okay, and if you guys have any questions, we have an entire contact management class that would walk you through, spouses and how to manage that and so forth. If you'd like to check that out, slmtraining.com will give you more info on that. But in the meantime, I'll just click create on the very bottom to add that contact to my database right away. Now, once I've added that contact to my database, I will need to use the search feature on the top left of my contacts to go ahead and pull up that contact. It does always take me back to the A's anytime I add a contact. And just because I always get this question too at this part of class, if you're wondering how to sort your database by first name, last name, and so forth, A to Z, you would just do that by clicking on the actual word name on the gray toolbar here, and it will allow you to toggle that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and search for the contact I added in, say Captain America. So use the search field on the top left to search for whatever contact you just added in as a practice. And simply click on their name to open that. Okay, so all we're doing, we are finding the contact we just added to our database. And simply click on the contact's name to open that. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and click on the opportunities option on the top right. All right, so this is how we'll go ahead and create our opportunity. And if you are asking yourself, what the heck is an opportunity? It's a good question. I wondered it myself when I started learning the system. And the word opportunity really is as corny as it sounds, right? It's just an opportunity for a sale, an opportunity for a closing. So command goes above and beyond just a contract to close management system, and you will be able to create opportunities all the way from lead to close. Okay, so it's a way to manage your relationships. Anytime that you have an opportunity for a sale, you can go ahead and add in that opportunity to help nurture it on your pipeline. The opportunities class would be great to watch in cahoots with this class here, but I'll of course be taking you through that as much as possible today. So in the opportunities option here, we'll click create opportunity on the right-hand side. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to walk you through here is there's really just 3 main boxes you have to fill out to click create. All right, but then I'm going to tell you about the other fields as well. But let's start. If you're taking notes, I'm going to start by the 3 fields that you have to fill out in order to continue, and then I'll explain the others. So the first field that you always have to pay attention to would be the opportunity type. That's where you're selecting if this is a listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant opportunity. Once you create this, there's no way to change it. So make sure you're looking at what you're creating here. So I'll do listing for today's class. You can do either one. It'll be the same concept. So that was the first one, opportunity type. Second box, opportunity name. Okay. If you are representing the listing, you'll probably know the listing address right out the gate. So if that is the case, let's go ahead and put in the property address. I realize if you're representing the buyer, you probably won't know the property they're going to make an offer on right out the gate. No worries. I'll show you how you can add the property address as the opportunity name after. Okay, but adding the address here is helpful for your organization to easily see, which property you sold, especially if this client goes to actually, buy several homes or is an investor client. But also very importantly, your office staff searches by the address to add things like your earnest money receipt and so forth. So if you can name that the property address, that certainly helps. All right, and commission rate. Let's go ahead and put in, sorry, the commission rate would be the last and final field here that you absolutely have to fill out to continue. You absolutely have to fill out to continue, and that's just talking about your side of the transaction, just a heads up. So it's not talking about the full 6%, that is just talking about your portion of the transaction. So if that's 3% that you usually get, it's okay if you don't already have, listing agreement signed or a buyer agency, right? We'll come back, I'll show you how you can update that if that indeed does change. All right, guys, so those were the 3 fields you have to fill out every single time you create an opportunity. Let me tell you guys about the other fields. All right, so again, just to note the 3 that you have to pay attention to: opportunity type, opportunity name, and commission rate. That will allow you to create to continue. However, some of the other fields can be really important depending on your situation. So for example, starting at the top here, market center, make sure you are selecting which market center this is running through. If you are a transfer agent or an expansion agent active in more than one market center, it's really important that you select which market center that's running through. All right, team member agents. If you are in a team, I need to talk to all team member agents for a second here. So if you're a solo agent, you can phase me out for about 30 seconds before coming back in. I have a team member agents, very important here. If you are to create a opportunity on your team pipeline, your contact would have to be in the team database first. So I'm going to X out of this just so I can show you this. I would just stay where you are on your screen. But if you're a team member agent, please look on my screen here. Semi-recently, I want to say in the last 3 months, but all my days are really mixing together. But let's just say in the last 3 months, KW has separated the team and personal databases. Okay, so you'll now notice if you click your name on the very top right, you should be able to toggle back and forth between your team account and your personal. Now, with that being said, in order to create an opportunity on your team pipeline, your contact first has to be added to your team database. Now, you can go directly over to the team database to add your contact in directly to your team database. But let's talk about the situation like this one here, right? I can tell this is in my personal database because I don't have the team name displaying up here. But I want to go ahead and create a team opportunity, let's say. So first thing I need to do is switch the contact to the team database. So I would do that. So if you are a team member agents only, I would switch this contact to the team by clicking the 3 dots on the top center of the contact record. And then choose account. So again, 3 dots and then choose account. That will give you the option to put that in the team database and click to choose, which will then give you the ability to create an opportunity on the team pipeline. Okay, so if you're a team member agent and you're getting an error when trying to create an opportunity on your personal database, that's most likely why. Okay, make sure that your contact is in the team profile, in the team database, so you can create an opportunity on the team pipeline. Real quick though, just a heads up, if you do move the contact to the team database, that'll just remove any personal smart plans that you have for the contact and any personal tags that you have. However, the smart plans can be reset up for the contact on the team smart plans and any team tags as well. So if you have any questions on that, please let us know. I do have on the tips sheet I sent out for team member agents, the very last tip on there is the overview on team transactions, the newer update in, let's say, 3 months ago is when I think it happened. All right. All right, so if you are on a team, right, you should see your team name and displaying here when creating the opportunity. And last thing for team member agents before we go back to all agents, all right, so if you're on a team and you see your team name displaying on the very top here, you will have a box at the very bottom that will appear to add your other contacts, your other team members to the opportunity so they can help you collaborate on the opportunity. So your Rainmaker will be able to see all your opportunities created on the team pipeline off default. However, if you want other team member agents to collaborate with you on this opportunity, you can add them as assignees on the very bottom here. All right, guys, team member agents, if you guys have questions on that, please feel free to email us support@scottlauremarketing.com and I'd be more than happy to help you. All right. So if everyone can now zoom back in, all solo agents, team member agents, the rest of the fields will now apply to you. Okay, so right here, the owner, I just want to explain that real quick. Slightly confusing, that is not talking about the owner of the property. Okay, that's talking about the owner of the transaction, the owner of the opportunity. So that should either say your name or your Rainmaker if you are on a team, right? And what a Rainmaker means is like your team lead. Listing agent. All right, so I have my client already populated in there previously because I created the opportunity from here. But you can make sure to add the co-seller here. If there is a spouse on the transaction, you can easily add them right from here. All right, we're almost done here with creating an opportunity. So now we can skip down a few fields, right? Because we really just have to fill out any fields that have this red asterisk next to it. So I can skip any fields that do not have the red asterisk. That means it is not required to save, right? Already talked about the commission rate. So the final two we need to talk about, all that this is doing is pointing out where on your pipeline that's going to put your opportunity. I'll explain more on that later, okay? And the opportunity class would be great to help walk you through that even further. But you can just leave that where that is for right now. On the cultivate phase, okay, or if you have an appointment or active, you can change it there, right? But I will show you more on these items on the bottom in a little bit. And we'll click create. I know there's a question in the chat of where to get those tips, so I'm just putting that again. Yeah, it's the link in this chat. There you go. Oh, well, fun. There we go. I don't know if that was doing that for you guys. It was just spinning, so I X'd out of it, and there it was created. Might have just been on my end. All right, so there we go. We have the opportunity created right from here. So right now, what we would want to do to access Docusign is actually click on the opportunity name to access Docusign right away. Before I do that, though, I just want to point out real quick that as far as when you're looking for your opportunities, when you're going back to find opportunities after they're already created, I find that it is much easier to search your contact in the contact database, as it will stack all opportunities associated with that client on the right-hand side. So I find that the easiest way to search your opportunities, but I'll show you more options later as well. So now let's simply click on the opportunity name to open that up so we can access Docusign. All right, so all I did was simply click on the opportunity name to access the back end of the opportunity. So these are the opportunity details. This section is actually very important as it will autofill any information that you have entered on this page onto every single form you bring into this Docusign room. So it's going to autofill your clients information, right? We have our clients linked at the top. It's going to autofill any information we see on this page here, okay? And if you chose to do a listing opportunity, okay, you will have the option to select from listings. If you chose to do a buyer opportunity, no worries, that's really the main difference here. You can just watch on my screen, you won't have this option. But if you are representing the listing, this is really helpful to help autofill the property details into this box right here that I've highlighted, which then autofills onto all of your forms in Docusign. So for example, if I click select from listings right here, it'll show only your listings first. All right, and if you're not seeing your listing here under only my listings, don't be alarmed. There's nothing wrong with your account. KW is just working on still grouping all agents' listings for them like this to make it easier for you. But in the meantime, until they nail down that feature, you can actually change where it says show on the top right to all listings, so that I can easily search on the top bar here to search for my listing by street address or MLS number, and then simply click on select to the right-hand side of whichever listing that might be. I'm going to pick a random one. You can too. No one will know. It doesn't alert anyone, but you can go ahead and click select to practice with any of these listings, just so you can see how it autofills if you would like to. And you'll see right when I added in that listing, it did pull in all the property detail information here, which in turn will autofill into Docusign. You can always easily change this listing right at the top as well. All right, now with all this talk about Docusign, let's get in there, shall we? So how we get into Docusign. And this is very important that you start all transactions with the steps that we just did and access Docusign actually from the document section of command of your opportunity, okay? So where we go is we're along this white toolbar here. The document section of your opportunity is where you'll always go to start a transaction in Docusign. Okay, once you have it started, you can go to Docusign directly to access your files and your rooms, okay? However, it's extremely important that you always start your transaction in command in your opportunity by clicking start a transaction to link that to Docusign. I'll show you why it makes your life so much easier towards the end of class. But what it does is it will link your opportunity and your Docusign room together, so you can easily pull over forms to your opportunity to submit for compliance review. And I'll be showing you that, live to make more sense of that. Right now, what you need to get in your head is that we always start your transaction with those steps. Access your opportunity in the document section to start the transaction. And when you click start a transaction, that might go directly to Docusign, or you might be prompted to select either Docusign or .loop if you have both linked up. All right, so that's of course what we want to select is the Docusign option. And then you may be prompted to log in if it's your first time accessing Docusign for the day. So you will need to remember your Docusign login and password. I know, another login to remember, but it does prompt you to put in your login and password for Docusign the first time of each day for security reasons. So go ahead and throw that into the notes of your phone. I personally have an iPhone note locked on my phone with all of my passwords, and it uses Face ID to unlock. I thought that was pretty nifty. So wherever you have your password saved, this will be a good one to save. And this has now created my Docusign room from the opportunity name that I created with the listing address that I indicated. Okay, so we're in the document section of our Docusign account in our Docusign room. So you'll hear me say the word Docusign rooms a lot. What that means is you're going to have a room per transaction that you sell. So for example, if you are representing a client who is selling their home and then buying the next home, that would be two separate opportunities, two separate Docusign rooms, because it's two separate transactions, two separate properties. So essentially you have a Docusign room per property that you sell. All right, so this is my Docusign room for the specific opportunity right here. So now let's talk about getting forms in our Docusign room. Okay, and the next few steps will vary for everyone, so hang tight with me. But we're going to click on Add on the top right, and do make sure you're in the Documents section of your Docusign room. And we're clicking Add. Your Docusign password may or may not be the same as your command password. That is separate. That would be a separate password. How you get your Docusign password is it actually sends you an email to set the password from a Docusign invite. So if you're unsure, if we set that up for you at scottleroymarketing.com, I would search your inbox for support at scottleroymarketing.com, because we would, if we set you up as a new agent, we send you all of your usernames and logins. So again, search your personal inbox. Usually we send it to your personal address, support at scottleroymarketing.com, and you may just have the login right on there for you. Yes, and good question, Lanisha. If you have both sides of the transaction, like if you are a dual agent representing both the buyer and the seller in the situation, that still would be two separate opportunities in two different rooms. Great question. All right, so let's add forms to our Docusign room by clicking the Add button on the top right of the Document section. And we're selecting the second option down, which is Docusign Forms. Okay. These Docusign forms are the forms that are interactive, the ones that are fillable that I can just start typing in. So Docusign Forms. And again, remember I said that this next few steps will be slightly different for everyone. So if you are seeing the pop-up I'm seeing on my screen, great. Hold tight for about 5 seconds. If you are instead seeing a different pop-up that is prompting you to put in your NERDS ID to verify with an AR, you can click on skip for right now. All boards do not require that, only some do. So if you would like to click the little blue link for right now that says skip verification for right now, I'll show you where to actually go in your Docusign preferences to put your NERDS ID in if you find your board does require that. But let's first see, right? So if you are getting that NERDS pop-up, click the skip, the blue link on the right side, and then you should be taken to what I see on my screen, right? Now, the first dropdown, depending on what you have selected in the first dropdown menu, will control what you have in the second dropdown. So for example, if I have my forms library selected in the first dropdown, in the second dropdown, I'll see my libraries for my board and my MLS. However, I prefer to change the first dropdown to my Docusign Forms group instead, which essentially groups, and organizes your forms down even further. Now, these are forms that your office staff, these are groups that your office staff creates for you. So of course, yours will look different than mine if you have them. Your office staff puts these together. You can go ahead and click on the group name that you think would have the form that you're looking for. And this can take some practice, right? Locating your forms here, right? Seeing what group they're in, right? So try to take a little bit of time to, click on each group and look through them to get an idea of what forms are in what groups, so that when it's a time-sensitive transaction, you have a good hold on that. You can, of course, use the search bar here as well to search for your forms. And then go ahead and click on the checkboxes to the left of whatever forms to bring in. Okay, and if you do not have groups in your account, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with your account. Your office just does not utilize form groups at this time. Instead, I might suggest looking at the library. All right, and just in case there are groups but no forms in there, I'm going to show you how to add your NERDS ID. That would probably apply to you. So hold tight to that. So if you do see forms here, go ahead and you can select one or multiple by clicking the dots on the left side and clicking Add. And just like magic, we have that form added in. So if you were successfully able to add your form just like I did, great, you can click on it to open it to play around. However, if you were an agent who maybe had groups and didn't see any forms under those groups, or didn't see all your forms there, you most likely need to add your NERDS ID to get access to your forms. So let me show you that real quick, right? So if you had access to your forms, great, just hold tight. If not, All right, you can always jot down these instructions and we can always help you after class as well. We can do this for you. But if you click on, it'll either be your initials or your headshot on the top right. And then let's go down to preferences. All right, so again, your headshot on the top right, and then we're going down to preferences. Then on the left-hand side, we want to click on integrations. All right, so for California agents, typically you guys need to use zip forms to access your forms. So if you are a part of car.org, we can help you link up your zip forms account if you have any trouble, but you can go ahead and put in your username and password right there. Just a heads up, the zip forms username is not the same as your username for CAR. So if you need help finding that, just let us know. Otherwise, California is really the main state that I see using zip forms up here. Most other states, if you did not already see your forms automatically in there, will require your NERDS ID to be put in. If you're not sure, first of all, shoot us an email. We can help you figure that out. But also, you would be able to look on this list right here of all the boards that do require that. So you can skim this lovely list right here to see if you see your board on this list. Put in your NERDS ID, make sure your last name is correct, and click save, and that will make all of your forms available in your account immediately. If you need help with that, just let us know. support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can help with zip forms or NERDS. All right, and now let's go ahead and go back into our Docusign room we were practicing on, so I can show you how to edit those forms and send for electronic signatures. So to do that, we can navigate back to our Docusign room in a variety of different ways. You can access the rooms, all of the rooms right here. Or you can click on your dashboard. And just in case anyone missed the steps on how I got here to put in your NERDS ID, just one more time for you. Click on your headshot or initials on the top right. Preferences. And then integrations on the left-hand side. And then you're validating against your association. So you would want to find your association from this nice little list. And if you have any trouble, guys, we're happy to help you with that. Shoot us an email. All right, so now I'm going to click on my dashboard. Right? You can click on your rooms to view all rooms, or you can go to your dashboard to see like your 5 most recent used rooms. I'm going to do that. So I clicked on the dashboard option. Either way, if you were navigating and following along, all right, we're just trying to go back to the Docusign room that we had started. And into the document section. Okay, so we now have that form in there. Even if you guys don't have all your forms, feel free to bring in, any form that you do have in there just to practice along, or you can watch on my screen to try to get that in your head. I do have on the actual notes and tips guide that I sent out, just so you guys know, I have a 20-minute overview of this class. So let's say in 3 weeks, you have another opportunity to create and forgot everything I said in today's class, you can watch a 20-minute overview to do it with me step by step. So that's what the purpose of that is. All right, so now to edit the form, editing forms in Docusign is super easy. All you'll need to do is simply click on the form to open that and start editing right away. So when you're completing this Docusign form, first of all, you'll notice that some of the information is already auto-filled onto the form, right? Like the client's name is auto-filling, my brokerage name is auto-filling, the address and my contact information as the agent will auto-fill onto the form. Okay, so a lot of this information, of course, pulls from command, right? That's where your client's contact information pulls from. That's where the address will pull from. And all of your brokerage information, like your contact information, will pull from the white pages. All right, so that's why you're seeing some information autofilled here. But now to complete the form further, I'll simply click on any box to start typing. So I can click, start typing, as easy as that, right? Any check dots, called radio dots, I can simply click to check it. Any fields, again, is as simple as clicking to start typing. Okay, so completing the form is nice and easy. We go through and fill out the form, click on the fields and fill that out. Main thing I want to note for any dot loop users, if you are used to using dot loop in the past, you might be alarmed that there are no initial fields on the form at this point. However, just rest assured that the initial fields and signature fields do not show on the form until after we pull the form into our envelope and add the recipients. So it's just not showing yet, but it will automatically display. All right, guys, so go through. So the idea here, I'm going to use my imagination that I went really fast, filled out the entire form, right? Just by simply scrolling and clicking to type, and then we can click Save and Close. Okay. Please remember every time you edit the form to always click Save and Close first, okay? We do have some document actions up here that I'll pull up to show you while we're here, all right? But please note to click Save and Close first if you edited the form before using any of these document actions, okay? Just a note, because if you try to do it from here, if you try to download it, it just won't download the saved options. So in these document actions on the top right, and the icon I'm clicking on is a little icon of a folded sheet of paper on the top right. The main thing I want to show you in here is if you model your business or you even have a client who really does not like electronic signatures, they don't trust it, whatever the case may be, they would like you to come over to explain the form to them so that they can hand sign it. That is absolutely fine. So you can absolutely pull the form into your Docusign room, fill it out like we just did. Click Save and Close first, right? That's always a prerequisite to then using the document actions. So we save and close, then we pulled the form back open, and then we have the option, or we will have the option to download. Okay, you'll see other options here as well, but this is really helpful if you want to go ahead and download or print the form to bring it on your appointment with you to have them hand sign it. That's absolutely fine. All right, so I'm clicking Save and Close on the top right. All right, so now that we have edited the form, let's talk about sending that off for signatures. Okay, so the next part that I'm going to talk about is something that Dotloop did not have, right? But it starts to make sense as we go through it, so bear with me, all right? So these are called envelopes, okay? So on the tab or on the toolbar of your Docusign room, let's go ahead and select envelopes to talk about what that does. So we're selecting envelopes. And let's select New on the top right of the envelope section. So we're creating a new envelope. And to make sense of this, let's channel snail mail here. Okay, so think of snail mail, right? What would I do if I needed to send a letter or a form in the mail? First thing I would do is I would grab an envelope. So check, I did that. So step 2 is I would put the form in the envelope, right? That makes sense. So, all right, here, add document to the envelope. So first option is to select from your room docs. So that's any forms that you already have in your room. So that's the one we'll want to pick. I can simply click on the form, that checkbox, to go ahead and add that in. All right, so if this is a form, if you have multiple forms in your Docusign room, you can of course pull in multiple. You can also, once you have multiple, allow you to drag to reorder the forms in the order you want to send them in. And of course, you can X out any forms you didn't mean to add to the envelope. All right, so channeling back to snail mail, we have the envelope, we added the form to it. So what's next? Recipients. So we add the recipients to the front of the envelope, right? So to do that, we'll go ahead and click Add Recipient. And we're always going to select the top option on this dropdown. Okay, so add recipient, and this will come into play because I'm going to show you how to edit a PDF as well next. And these options will look slightly different, but what you need to know is always select the top one. That's how I remember it. So I'm selecting pre-tagged roles here, the top option from that dropdown, and I'm going to add seller 1 and seller 2 here from the dropdown. Now my clients are already in this dropdown because I added them to my command opportunity, right? So pulled it into Docusign, allowing me to easily select my clients from this dropdown. Okay, depending on what form you're practicing with, in this case, I'm going to add myself because I am signing it as the listing agent. And I'll click Add Selected. So I have the recipients added to the envelope here. I see that they can all sign. So I'm good to go here. All right. You can write a message on the bottom. You do not have to, but you can, you talked on the phone about something they need to pay attention to, you can note that here. And now we can click Next. Guys, this is really the final step. We're on the home stretch. So if you click Next on the top right, we don't technically have to do anything further, but check our work at this point. So again, go ahead and click on the yellow Next button on the top right. And that will take you over to the form to check over everything. Now, a couple things to say on this section. So first of all, the beautiful thing is, since this was an interactive form, right, I already did all the editing, right? In the document section of my room, I typed in the form. That's why I see all of this information already here. So I don't need to do anything on this page except check over that the initial boxes, right? This is when they'll start to automatically show. The initial and the signature boxes should now be automatically on your form as long as it was a Docusign interactive form. So, excuse me, what I mean by that, because I'll be saying that again, a Docusign interactive form is a form that you can just start typing in, right? It was the one that we could just start typing to fill it in, right? So anytime it's a Docusign interactive form, it will have the initial boxes and signature fields automatically added. Now you might notice the coloring differences, which is different than dot loop as well. So let's talk about that. So the color differences on the field will correspond with the drop down on the top left. So you might see your name and your clients if you have to sign as well. And you'll see each with an associated color. Now we'll expand more on that because I'm going to bring a PDF in to show you. However, just notice once I click on any of these clients' names, right, changes all these field colors. Now we don't really need to use these fields on the left-hand side because this was a Docusign interactive form that I could just start typing in. Okay, these fields on the left-hand side, I'll be showing you how to use, but that's more for PDF editing. So hold tight, I'll show you how to do things like adding a strike through in, adding in text boxes, and so forth, but hold tight to those. So what you need to know on this page is we generally look over that. I generally like to look at the recipient preview as well on the top right, especially, as I start newer to Docusign, that recipient preview on the top right really helps me sleep at night knowing I sent the form correctly. So on the top left, you'll be able to see how you're viewing the form as which client. And this is exactly how your client would view this. They could click Start and go through and sign the form all from here. So I like to go through this just to know that, all right, they're able to sign all the fields that I need signed. And you can do that for both clients up here. And once you feel satisfied, you can X out on the top right, and we're ready to send. All right, so again, we don't necessarily have to do anything on this page here, but we can go ahead and click Send on the top right. Or of course, you can save and close it if you want to send this envelope at a different time. You can save it as a draft. But in this case, to show you, I'll go ahead and send it so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so when I click Send, first of all, what will happen is it will send an email to my clients. from Docusign prompting them to sign. If it is a form that you need to sign as the agent, okay, the envelope will show needs my signature. So this envelope section, again, I know that's a newer concept. So the envelope section will show you an envelope each and every time that you sent out one form or a batch of forms. Just anytime you send out forms to your client, you'll have a separate envelope for that. So if it's one that you need to sign, you'll see it needs my signature. I can simply click on that and click to sign that. So it would allow me to sign it straight from here. Docusign does send you an email, just a heads up, so you can sign from your email as well if you prefer, but you can sign that right from here. You can even correct. So if you need to make any edits to this envelope, you can right from there. And you can also resend it right from here, which comes in handy if, you know, for any reason your client says they didn't receive the envelope to sign, you can always resend that right from here. All right, guys, I'm going to X out on the top right so I can now show you guys how to edit PDFs in Docusign. All right, so I'm going to hop over to the Documents tab of your opportunity. I know we're getting close to the end of class, like time-wise. I would say I'll probably go about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes over. I generally do. But just to tell you what I'll be going over to see if it's something you want to stick around for, I am going to show you how to edit PDFs in Docusign, how that relates to editing signed forms in your Docusign account, right? And how you view your signed forms. And then the last thing I'll be covering is how to add your forms to your opportunity to submit for compliance review, because you'll need to do that step in order to get paid. So I'll tell you that, and I'll try and wrap all of that up in 15 minutes. If you can stay around, those will be helpful items to learn. But if not, if you guys need to head out, of course, this is being recorded. You can come back and watch it on slmtraining.com at your convenience as well. Okay, so now let's talk about, we're changing gears slightly here. We're talking about adding PDFs to Docusign and editing those. And let's talk about when we would need to use this feature. So let's say the agent on the other side doesn't use Docusign and they just emailed you, let's say the contract, the offer signed by their clients as a PDF, right? It's in your email, right? It was an attachment signed by their clients, but now I need to go ahead and get my clients to sign the PDF as well, right? And of course they went to Florida in the middle of a transaction, so I only have the option to get them to electronically sign that. All right, so what I'm going to do to edit PDFs is click on Add on the top right. So I'm in the Document section, just in case I lost anyone. I'm in my Docusign room in the Document section. I'm coming up to Add from Computer. And that will search your computer for any PDFs that you may have. So in this practice, right, you would want to save the, let's say if they emailed you a purchase agreement or offer, whatever it's called in your area, you would save it to your computer first so that you can easily come up to Add from your computer to search, where you have that PDF saved in your computer, to double click to bring it in. If you have another PDF, from another transaction you want to practice with, great, you can pull that in, or you can just watch on my screen if you do not have a PDF to practice with, either way. All right, so I added that PDF in, again, by clicking on Add on the top right and from Computer. So the main difference that you'll notice between the PDFs and the Docusign interactive forms, right? On the first form we were editing, I was able to simply click to start typing, right? This is a PDF. By nature, a PDF is not editable. Okay, so I can't just click to edit anything. However, Docusign is cool in that it allows you to edit PDFs if we add the fields. So let's take a look at how we do that. So in order to edit any PDFs, we do need to pull that into an envelope first. Okay? So how we do that, right, is we come, and there's a couple different ways to create an envelope, guys. So if you have a different way you prefer, go for it. But I'm going to click on the envelope section again. So this is how we did it last time. Envelope section tab of my Docusign room. I'm creating a new envelope again. Okay, so this is a required step to make any edits to a PDF. You have to create a new envelope. All right, so this will be great to help get you guys a little more comfortable in this section. I'll give you some extra added next level tips as we go through this. All right, but first thing, we have our envelope. Let's go ahead and grab it from our room doc to go ahead and pull in that PDF. So I'll click on room docs, grab the PDF and click add selected. So I'm adding my recipients here, and this is what I was talking about last time we were here on this section, is it will look slightly different, right? There's less options if it's a PDF. However, the main thing to know is just always select the top option. So room participants. So again, we clicked on add recipient, then select the first option for room participants to go ahead and add in our clients to sign. So I'm simply clicking in the check boxes to the left of my client's name to add them in. And so now's where I want to talk about a next level tip that Dotloop didn't have that I really like in Docusign. So you'll notice these numbers on the left-hand side of your clients, right, or your recipients. What that does is that notes in what order are they going to receive the form. So for example, if I want my transaction coordinator or admin or the mortgage provider to receive a copy of the fully signed purchase agreement or offer to purchase, after everyone's done signing that, I can make that happen. Let's take a look how. So I'm actually going to click add recipient one more time. And if I want to add like my transaction coordinator or a mortgage provider, they're not really in this transaction. So I'm going to just add them by email address. To add in, let's say, my transaction coordinator and her email. But we want to change that from needs to sign to just receives a copy. Okay. So this is again helpful for mortgage provider, admin, transaction coordinator. So they just need to receive a copy, but we want them to receive that second. So the main thing in this tip is changing the 1 to a 2 on the left-hand side. So that would make it so that only after recipients marked with a 1 completes their action of to sign, will it then get sent to the recipient with a number 2. All right, guys, that's a very fun feature that you can try to work in. Of course, you can click the X on the right-hand side to get rid of any as well. That is a little next level, but that may help out. All right, and we'll click on next on the top right. Nadia, to answer your question, in this example here, this would be if the agent on the other side sent you the contract, maybe if it's they're representing the buyers and they sent out, and the buyer agent sent you the purchase agreement signed by their clients, and now I need my sellers to sign the purchase agreement. Okay, that's the example here for PDFs editing. All right, guys, so this is where all these fields on the left-hand side really come into play. So again, right, a PDF is not editable. However, these fields on the left-hand side really help to edit a PDF if you need to make any changes or additions to the form. All right, so let's say in a situation, if you have a fully signed form and you realize that your client's name is added in here as Tony instead of Anthony, right? We need their actual name. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can make edits to a PDF right from here. So what you would do, so first of all, on the left-hand side, right, these are all the fields that we have the option to add. Most all the fields are right here on the left-hand side, right? You'll see we have text boxes, check boxes, name, email, you name it, right? Signature, initial fields, right? All right here on the left-hand side. There's really just one field that I go anywhere else for, and that is the pencil icon on the gray toolbar, that's where the strike through is, just in case you guys need to know where that is. There's a line tool right here. Okay, so that's under the pencil icon. Really all other fields are on that top option. So if I click the line option here, I would have the option to strike through their name, right? So once I click on that line option, it pulls me over to the form. I can drag my mouse to click and drop the strike through. So now the next thing I might want to do is add in text boxes, right? So if I want to add a text to edit this, instead of it saying, you know, Tony Stark, I want it to say Anthony Stark, I can go ahead and add in a text box on the left-hand side to go ahead and edit that. So I'm grabbing the text box on the left-hand side to drop that. So it follows my mouse. I can line that up and drop it. And it drops the text field kind of small, guys. So of course you can hover your mouse over the corners of the text box when it's clicked, right? So if you click on the text box, then you'll have these little dots on the corners to be able to make it that bigger. So I could type in their actual names. Okay, so if you are adding on any text fields, there is something extra you'll need to know. Okay, so this would be a noteworthy moment. I don't believe I have this on my notes. This would be a noteworthy moment if you are editing a PDF, adding in text fields like this. Okay. The text field you will notice is solid yellow. Okay. Anytime that a field is solid any color, whether it be yellow or blue in this case, it means it is required for that contact who is associated with that color to fill that out. Okay. So if I were to leave this how it is, my client will be forced to fill out this field when he goes to sign the form. All right, so if that's what you want, great, you can keep it like that. However, if you want it to be a field that you're just filling out, right? Like in this case, I'm just correcting something. I could click on the field, and then on the right-hand side, this is where I have the option to make this, to uncheck that it's required. And watch, as soon as I uncheck required, it'll turn this clear, indicating they don't have to fill it out. And if I want to make sure they cannot fill it out, I can mark that as read only. Okay, so generally by default, when you add a text box, it will add it associated to a client, okay, or just to a person that has a color here. So make sure you're doing that extra step there for text boxes specifically. If you do not want your client to fill that out, you can uncheck that's required and check that it's a read only. Okay, and this next little tip is a little next level, but just to let you know, one more setting that helps on here. So on the left-hand side, and these settings will only appear if you have the text box selected. So if I click off the text box, it goes away. Click the text box and you'll see these settings here. So just so you know, if you need both clients to have the ability to fill out that form, or that field rather, let's say it's like a seller disclosure, you can come into the collaboration to allow them both to collaborate on that field. Of course, you can delete the field on the right-hand side as well. Okay. So those are all the text field options here on the left-hand side, or right-hand side rather. So now generally the final step that you'll need to do, you know, is if you're editing a fully signed document, you would just have to add initial boxes on the left-hand side for any changes that you might have made, all right? Now let's talk a little bit more before we continue on and onto compliance. Let's talk just a second longer on how to add initial and signature boxes to a PDF, right, in order for your client to sign that, right? So I'm scrolling down to one of the initial fields here, and I can see those aren't automatically added, right? Like we saw previously on the interactive form, those initial boxes are automatically added in. If it's a PDF, they are not. Okay, so if it's a PDF you're pulling in, you do have to automatically add, or I'm sorry, manually add the initial and signature boxes. So in practice, guys, you would go ahead and make sure you have your client selected on the top. select the initial box to go ahead and line that up and click to drop it. And then we need the other client as well. So we'll grab the initial. So right when I changed it to the other client, it turned all these fields to that color. So I could grab an initial field to drop that in as well. So now that shows me that both of my clients can sign that, and I would need to do that for the bottom of each and every initial, or each and every page here. Now, just to show you guys the signature field, because there is a section here that you will need to, I'm sorry, there is an additional thing you need to know when adding signature boxes. So when you're adding signature boxes, I'm just going down to the sign section of the form to show you guys this. So when you're adding signature boxes, same exact concept here, that we want to just add, you know, based on the client here, there's just a separate section for signatures. But the additional thing to note, and I would recommend writing this down, is you always want to add the date signed as well. If this is a PDF, guys, remember that the tips I'm telling you right now are for PDFs. All right, so if you are adding a signature field manually, like I just did, you need to also manually add the date signed field so that the date will autofill. It does autofill, but you have to add the field. So again, what that looks like is, let's say I'll do it for my other client. I'm adding in the signature. So if I manually have to add in the signature, like if it's a PDF, I need to manually add the date field as well. It'll autofill it when your client signs it, but you have to add it. The date will not just be on the signature otherwise. You have to manually add the date for the signature boxes. Just an added tip, just to let you know, and you can click send on the top right. So these changes, like these boxes that I put in here, or any changes, let's say, you know, at the very top of the form when I was adding these items in, right, those would not stick in place until after I click send. Okay, so you would not see these changes on your form in your Docusign room until after it comes back signed. Okay, so just a heads up on that. I'm gonna say that one more time. So if you make any edits to a PDF right here and click send, and you go back to the document section of your room, you won't see those edits there. You will not see these edits until the form comes back signed. Okay, I'm going to click send on the very top right. So Brad, to answer your question, can you make it a Docusign interactive doc without using commands so it will auto-populate signatures and initial boxes? In order for forms to be interactive, right, where I could just start typing in them, your office staff actually has to send that off to Docusign to turn into an office interactive form. However, KW did recently create the ability to, or has the ability to create templates, which I have on the notes guide. So you can create templates as well from interactive forms. You can also create those from PDFs. So Brad, if you have more questions on that, you can email me at support@scottloriemarketing.com. I'd be happy to help. All right, guys, last couple topics here. I just want to show you real quick what it looks like when a form comes back signed to your Docusign room, and then how to pull your signed forms into your command opportunity to submit for review. So real quick, let's watch on my screen because I have signed forms in my account. So I'm going to show you on one of those. I think it's this one. Nope. Okay, one sec, guys. Let me just grab my room that has these signatures on it. Okay, here we go. Now, this is very important to know. That is different than dot loop and causes a lot of alarm. What you need to know is you will not see the form. So if you get notified, let's say there's 2 clients that are signing the form, and you get an email notifying that 1 client has signed. If you come back to your Docusign room in the document section, you won't see that signed form until both or all parties have signed the form or completed their action. Okay, that's very important to note. Just so you don't pull your hair out. All right, you will not see the signed form in your room until all parties have signed. Okay, and when they do sign, it comes back as a totally separate PDF. So let's take a look at this right here. So you see this icon on my screen. This is our listing agreement in North Carolina, and it has this blue forms icon. If I were to click on that, that would be the original copy of the form that I can just click to start typing in. Okay, this is the version of the form that I sent to my clients to be signed. This one right here with the blue forms icon. When it comes back to my Docusign room signed, this is what it looks like. So it comes back as a totally separate form. It converts it to a PDF to preserve the signatures and gives this green signed icon. So what I mean is if I click on this now, you'll notice it's a PDF, meaning I cannot just start filling it in. And the beautiful thing about that is it will always preserve your signature. So if you use .loop in the past, you might be used to seeing that pop up that says, you know, if you make any changes to the form, it'll erase all signatures. Anxiety inducing pop up if I ever saw one. Docusign does not have that feature, okay? Because anytime a form comes back signed to Docusign, it comes back as a separate PDF. With that being said, guys, if you need to make edits to a fully signed form, it would be the same steps that we just went through. Okay, so that's why that was so important for you guys to see. You can just add the signed form to an envelope to make edits to that right away. And I have a tip video on that in case you run into that. Edit signed documents in Docusign. So that's near the bottom of that tip section there. So you can go through that if you need, but it will be the same exact steps that we just went through as the PDF. All right, guys, last thing that I'm going to show you, and that is how to add your documents to Command, right? So if you still have Command open, you should, because Docusign opens a separate tab. Command will be a separate tab here. It should say something like Command Documents. Okay. So how the document section works together with Docusign. I know you guys are probably super fried, but this is super important. If possible, really zero in on this part. I'm going to tell you how the document section of opportunities works together with the document section of Docusign. Okay, so Docusign, everything we just did in the document section, that is used between the agent and your client to get forms signed, to access your forms, edit your forms, and so forth. So again, Docusign is being used between the agent and your client to get your forms signed. The document section of your opportunity, where I am on my screen here, is used to submit your signed forms to your office staff for compliance review so they can cut your commission check. So again, the document section of the opportunity is used between the agent and your office staff to submit your forms for review so you can get paid. Okay, so how we do that, to show you that real quick, and this is a tip video, by the way, if you guys need to scoot, I do have this on the tip video in there. But how we go ahead and check the checklist type, right, to add our forms, our signed forms. We do so by clicking the checklist type on the left-hand side. And this varies a little bit depending on your market center. Right, so if you already have a checklist displaying, right, you might see that checklist name already show here in bold. But the idea is we can go ahead and select the checklist name on the left side here to view all the forms that we need to add in for this transaction. So on the left-hand side, I may see, you know, different folders here. And again, this is different depending on your market center, because your market center adds these in. Of course, you need different forms in California than North Carolina. So this will look different depending on your state and area here. But the idea is, depending on which folder you click on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of forms going down your screen. These are not the forms itself. These are form placeholders, or like just the names of them. So like a checklist. So you'll see the forms that you need to add in order to get your commission check. You'll see that it's required or if it's conditional, right here. So now how we go about adding forms is we can do that by clicking add a file here on the right-hand side to do that one at a time. However, it's a lot quicker to click attach multiple files on the top. To then allow me to attach my forms up here with the checklist. Now you do have the two main options here at the top are manual. So if you have the forms downloaded on your computer, right? Like especially if you got them hand signed, you can absolutely just go ahead and search your computer to pull in that hand signed form. However, what makes your life way easier is selecting the Docusign option. You'll only have this Docusign option if you created the transaction from the opportunity. So a little earlier when I was really harping on how important it is to start your transaction from the command opportunity, this is why. It makes your life so much easier to select Docusign. And then if I do that, I will be able to select from my signed forms right from this list, right? So right from this list here, I'll be able to click the drop down, and this is only pulling in signed forms from this specific Docusign room because I have it linked. Once I'm done linking those up here, I can click attach to pull that over from Docusign to my command opportunity right away. And I can click submit to MC on the top right, which don't do that right now. They won't like that very much, but you can submit that to your MC when it's ready for your office staff to do compliance review on your opportunity so they can cut your commission check, okay? And check in with your office staff on when they want you to be submitting for compliance review. They'll tell you the policy, it's slightly different for each office. But in general, just so you know when you want to be submitting for compliance review is generally 3 times if it's a listing. Once when the listing goes live, once when you go under contract, and once when you close. If you're representing the buyer, typically you'll submit to your MC twice, once when you're under contract and once when you close. That is a very general idea for you of when to submit to MC. However, check with your office staff for any policies on when they want you to be submitting, as you'll want to follow their guidelines. But last thing to note here, this offer and commissions tab right here, that is generally something you'll need to do when you go under contract. You will need to add your executed offer and submit a commission request when you go under contract. And what that does is it just sends to your office, it tells them how they're splitting your commission check. How are they dispersing that? Are you getting the entire commission check? Are you splitting it 50-50 with a team member, paying an outside referral, so forth, okay? And I just wanna let you guys know that's what you would do when you go under contract. And then when you do go under contract and need to do that, I have that right on here. Create a commission request. So hopefully that helps you too. All right, guys, so that is Docusign in a nutshell. And I know that your head is probably about to explode with forms and Docusign knowledge. So I'm here to help you. Any questions that I did not get to in the chat, which is probably a decent amount of them, please shoot me an email, support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'll put this in the chat. You can put my name on the subject as well, and it'll go directly to me, and I can check your account specifically. If you send over your login and password, I'll be able to check on your account specifically. I did put in the chat here how you can contact me specifically. I tend to look over all the Docusign and opportunities issues here. So, any issues you have with Docusign, command, your opportunities, please just let us know. We're more than happy to help you and help guide you along the way to making this an easier battle. All right, guys, let us know how we can help. You know where to find me, support@scottleroymarketing.com. I hope this was helpful. Take care, guys.